Greetings, everyone. It's Trey here. I'm here on this 8th day of August 2020. It's a Saturday evening, and I'm here with my new friend Mike, whom I met within the last week or so. He's going to have to refresh me where we met, and we had kind of made a penciled-in appointment to meet this evening, and then I kind of forgot about it, and he just came along and said, "Hey, I'm available. You want to have a conversation?" I said, "Sure." So I just created this event real quickly, and glad to have you, Mike. Welcome.
Hi. Yeah, it was actually you were on one of T-Jump's threads. That's where I first met you. So.
Okay, which is Tom Jump.
Yeah.
Whom we had a discussion a couple months ago. Okay, and then what was the context of our conversation? You remember?
I don't even remember. It was too
okay. Okay, but I remember I had invited you to have a discussion about the existence of God, and you agreed.
Yeah.
Before we begin, would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself, maybe where you are? If you're comfortable, tell me a little bit about maybe your spiritual upbringing, or maybe something your upbringing and where you are today, what kind of atheist you consider yourself to be, and any other pertinent information if you have family or where you live or whatever, anything, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself.
All right, I live in Connecticut. I was brought up. It's weird because my parents were separated when I was really little, so my dad was very religious and my mother she wasn't an atheist, but she didn't see religion as important at all. So
what denomination was your dad, if I may ask?
Pentecostal.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay.
Fundamental Pentecostal.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, when I was younger, I gravitated towards the religious stuff with my dad. In Lebanon, Missouri. He lived in Lebanon, Missouri at the time.
Oh, that's close to me then.
Yeah. So we went to the Lebanon, Missouri Assembly of God across the summers. So my mom lived in Connecticut. My dad lived in Missouri. And I would just spend the summers with my dad and going to church with my dad, and kind of really gravitated towards the religious stuff and got really fundamental for a while. And then as I got older, I started to really think about it. Probably the main thing that really turned me away from it was the doctrine of hell that our church believed in versus what God was supposed to be. The two were incompatible as far as I could tell. And I asked the preacher, what is, how do we reconcile this? We have, sorry, I'm trying to think of the story, but it's like, we have this horrible Dante-esque torturing everyone for eternity, gnashing of teeth, river of fire, and then God, who's supposed to be all loving and caring, and just the two were incompatible. So I asked our preacher, how do we reconcile it? And he said, "You have a familiar spirit in you, and I rebuke you, devil."
Oh man, that's delicious.
Eventually, it became too much, and I just started reevaluating what I believed, and eventually ended up deciding I didn't think any of it was true. So there was a lot more to the experience than that. There was some pretty rough stuff because my dad had moved down to Alabama shortly after I had gotten really religious with him. And then I moved in with him in Alabama, and we moved in with a preacher, and that's actually where all that stuff started to really happen. And it was a crazy fundamental group. I mean, I've seen I was watching National Geographic one time, and they were showing snake handlers, and I was like, "Hey, that looks like my church." And then a lot of, when I left the church, I actually still believed it for a long time after, but it was just that thing about hell that kept eating at me until I finally reevaluated it, and it hit me that maybe it's not real. And then I started looking at everything without the context of assuming it was true to begin with, and just went, this isn't true. And so eventually, I didn't call myself an atheist for a long time, but eventually happened. So,
Okay, so how long would you consider yourself to be an atheist?
probably a good 20 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was all happened when I was a teenager to
Mhm.
just a little bit after young adult, I guess.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, well, that's great. Well, thank you. I appreciate the information. Um, well, I've been a Christian about 30. Let's see here. Think about it. Almost 34 years. I was 20, so I'm 54. And I actually became a Christian in a kind of a charismatic movement, probably not quite as extreme as yours. It was a Youth with a Mission, or YWAM. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's a youth missions organization, and they're kind of leaning toward the kind of Pentecostal type perspective. And I was in Northwest Arkansas. Of course, I live in the Kansas City area, and went down there, and then I met my wife, and we were married. Met the woman who'd be my wife. We got married and came back up here to Kansas City in 1991, I think. And so, and I started working for my dad. My dad was a dental lab technician, so I've been a lab technician since then. And now I've got my own business. I'm just a little one-man shop. And I've always had an interest since I've been a Christian in apologetics, thinking about metaphysics and things of, issues of ultimacy, like, origins and meaning, and, moral code and destiny, what happens when we die. And so if I find something interesting, I really latch onto it. I don't have a lot of formal education in these issues. I'm just kind of a self-taught guy. But if something interests me, I'm usually warp speed 7 or cold stone 0. Either it interests me or not. And if it doesn't interest me, I have a hard time getting on it. So that's why I enjoy interacting with these things. And I've been interacting with atheists directly in this type of format, whether it be through social media or whatever, for about probably the last 11 years or 12. Really, basically, when I first got on Facebook, started interacting with people a lot on this. So anyway, I'm sorry. And then I have 6 kids. They're ages 30 down to 17. I got 3 boys and 3 girls, and sadly I'm divorced. My wife left me about 6 years ago. 6, yeah, around there. And
you dropped out again?
the middle. Oh, it came back. Hold on. Sorry about that. My internet is kind of unstable. All right, so that's my story. Before we begin, I'd like to just make a comment about fundamental Pentecostalism. I feel you. I appreciate the situation that you went through, because generally what they are, Pentecostals are generally very anti-intellectual, and they're very emotive and very much about having emotional experiences without really having a lot of justification or thought behind it, which bears what I'm saying out when your pastor tries to cast a familiar spirit when you're trying to rectify hell. But really what the questions you're asking is, you say that how can God be love, and also how can he cast somebody to hell? But do you think that God should be loving to Adolf Hitler? Would that be loving for him to just say, boys will be boys, whatever, come on in?
I don't think it's as simple as that. I think kind of more of a. I don't think there's any point in punishment for punishment's sake. Like, as far as I'm concerned, just wipe him out of his existence. There doesn't have to be some eternal torment forever. There's just no point in that.
Okay, so you think that there should be punishment for sin?
Well, I mean, it's hard because I don't really believe in sin, but
Okay. What would you call Hitler then?
I mean, he was a bad dude.
What do you mean by bad? How's that different from sin? Let me tell you something, Mike. I deal with this all the time, and that's just a trope that you learn from your community about sin. But I've never had anybody can really justify it and actually show me what's different.
Well, from what I can tell, is sin is like transgressions against God, though, and God would have to exist for there to be.
Yeah, but if you're going to say something's bad, what do you mean? Is that just an emotion you have, or do you have a reason? Is there some standard that's been broken?
It's bad for humanity, you know.
Okay, so humanity matters.
In my opinion.
Why?
Because I'm human.
Okay, so you don't have a reason for it. You just have a feeling that humans matter, but you don't really know that they do.
Well, I just said because I'm human. That's my reason.
Okay, so you're human, and you feel like your life matters, but ultimately it really doesn't, right?
Well, matters in what sense?
Is it valuable? And I don't want you to tell me you think it's valuable. I'm saying objectively, is your life valuable? You call yourself Stardust, right?
Well, what would make my life? What would make humanity valuable objectively, according to you?
Well, it would justify to me why you say that it's valuable. Why would you say that which is unvaluable valuable for no reason?
I don't think I said it for no reason.
Okay, what's your reason? You've given me emotion. I want a reason.
Well, we are humans. We care about humans. It's sort of a humanity kind of thing. I don't know what reason.
Okay, so humans are valuable because humans are valuable?
What? I don't know what you mean by what kind
of value are you talking
about, though?
I'm sorry?
What kind of value are you talking about, though?
That there's a reason why you should get up and eat breakfast tomorrow morning.
Probably because I'm hungry.
And are you determined to be hungry?
Well, probably. Because I don't really have any control about being hungry, but...
Okay, how do you justify that determination to value existence such that you can satisfy your hunger? You will seek to do that.
To satisfy my hunger?
Mm-hmm. Do you think that people should eat because they're hungry?
Yeah.
Why?
They'll die if they don't. I mean,
so
if they value living.
Yes, but why? The whole question is, why do they value living? That's my whole question.
Why would you not value living? I don't understand what you're getting at.
I'm asking you to give me a perspective as to do you think that there's a moral imperative that people should value existence?
No.
Okay, so you don't think that murderers should go to jail?
I didn't say that.
Well, you just said that there's no moral imperative to value existence.
That's not the same thing.
How's it different?
So, I mean, we probably have different definitions of morality. I mean, but
I don't think so.
If we want to live in a society, we are stuck together, so we're going to have to work together to live in the society together. It's just...
So there is a moral imperative for people to value existence.
Well, I don't know if there is so much as people just do.
Okay, if somebody doesn't do that, are they broken?
If somebody doesn't do that, they don't value existence.
Right.
I don't know what to tell them. If they don't, some people don't. And
well, you say I'm going to throw you in jail if you don't, right?
Well, that's why some people end up in jail, because they don't value existence.
Right. So there is a moral imperative for people to value existence, right?
Well, there's an imperative for us,
right,
to work together if we want to. I don't know about there being a moral imperative to value.
Then why do you want to impose?
Subjective. There's no real objective. I don't know. Objective value is like an oxymoron to me.
Okay, then why is your perspective on reality to be forced upon other people? Are you something special?
My perspective on reality? Uh-huh. What's my perspective on reality?
That you shouldn't kill humans.
Yeah. And I live in a society full of people who need to work together, so...
They need to. That's a moral imperative statement.
we need to work together if we want to. So we need to work together if we want to. I don't see it like we live in this society together. And to me, it's if we want to live together peacefully in a society, we need to work together peacefully in a society.
Okay, but what if somebody doesn't want to? Is that all right for them to do that?
Well, sometimes someone doesn't want to, and
You throw them in jail,
that's why we have them.
and you hate hell,
It's what?
and you hate hell, and you want to do the same thing to other people, and to a lesser degree.
I don't think. Well, like I said, I don't think if you're just punishing someone for the hell of punishing them, that's pointless. That's why I don't think. I mean, hell was supposed to last forever, according to the version that I was part of, and that just didn't square.
Yeah, but you're presupposing the offense does not merit the reward.
The what?
You're presupposing that you're saying eternal torment is wrong because it's eternal, right?
Yeah, I see it as wrong. I don't think.
Okay. Do you think temporal torment is okay?
What's temporal torment?
For a time.
It's hard to say because I actually don't think torment is good. I think punishment.
Let's just say punishment.
I think punishment should be more almost like a goal for rehabilitation, although I know that's not possible in all cases.
Rehabilitation to do what you want them to do? It's just a power struggle for you?
Rehabilitation so that they can integrate back into society. I mean, people do things wrong.
So the strong can exercise their power over the weak?
I don't see it like that.
Really? How else could you decide to define that? Because you say there's no reason to value existence, and yet you say the strong people, who are the strongest, should be able to impose themselves on others.
Well, I don't know if that's the strong so much as, I mean, there's a lot of nuances that you got to consider because we all live in this society together, right? So there's going to be give and take. It's going to be, we're not all going to agree on everything, but it's like, what can we agree on and where can we, to what ends?
And whoever's the weakest, you just squash them and marginalize them.
No.
Whoever doesn't believe the way you believe.
No.
Whoever doesn't believe the way the mob wants to believe, they're wrong. That's called conventionalism.
So how is your view any different than that?
My view comes from the one who is definition in and of himself. All our existence is dependent.
What does it mean, is definition in himself?
I'm sorry?
What does that mean? Is definition in himself?
He's the ground for all existence. He is subsistence, existence itself. Without him, there would be no existence.
Grounds for all existence? What does that mean?
Are you dependent in your existence?
Either God exists or God does not exist, but...
But, Mike, are you dependent in your existence?
I don't think so. I mean, I exist.
Do you have to have cereal to eat, to live?
Well, yeah, there's things I need to live.
Do you need to have air in order to live? Water? Yeah. So you're dependent in your existence, right?
Okay.
Okay, so you're not self-existent.
Okay.
So therefore, if you're not self-existent, you must be dependent upon something in order to exist.
Yeah.
And that thing itself cannot be dependent itself because you can't have an eternal regress of dependent existence existing independently.
I don't know. A cow doesn't... things that I need to live can be further dependent on other things.
That's right. And they're all dependent. Can they all be independent and dependent at the same time in the same relationship?
Well, I don't think... Like, I need to eat. Wherever that food comes from is going to be dependent on whatever it needs to grow.
That's right. So is it possible to have a complete set of dependent existence existing independently?
So you're asking at what point do we get to bedrock?
You've got to give some kind of logical bedrock. Or it makes I'm sorry?
At what point can you not go further back?
You can't have an eternal regress of dependent existence existing independently.
Okay. I'm not arguing that you can. I'm just saying, as far as my existence goes, yeah, I'm dependent on stuff. But the stuff I'm dependent on is dependent on stuff.
Right.
I don't know exactly how far back it goes.
Well, you don't need to go any far back. It's not chronological. It's hierarchical. You can't have a hierarchy of all this dependent existence somehow existing independently. It's irrational. It's a violation of law of identity. Independence is not dependence, and dependence is not independence.
But I'm not saying anything's depending. Everything's. I'm dependent.
Everything's dependent.
There's stuff I'm dependent on, and there's stuff that stuff is dependent on, and there's stuff that stuff is dependent on.
Okay. And can the entire set of what you're explaining be dependent independently?
The entire set?
Mm-hmm. The universe.
At a certain point, it would seem like you hit bedrock and you can't go any further. I don't,
Okay, but you got to come with a reason at some time, right? You can't just say I believe irrationality is the ground for rationality.
Well, I didn't say that.
Well, you said the entire universe is dependent independently. That's irrational.
I didn't say that.
No, but but I'm saying, what is do you have another answer?
Is the entire
That's the only option you have.
Well, you asked about, am I dependent? And I just said, yes, I'm dependent on stuff.
And in everything else that you explained in that scenario is dependent, right?
Well, the stuff I'm dependent on is dependent on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's probably at rock bottom could be something like energy or energy packets. I don't know.
Okay, well, if you want to, so is that energy then self-existent?
Could be.
Okay, then you've conceded the argument.
First law of thermodynamics.
Energy cannot be created or destroyed, and that's within a closed system. But so what you concede then that there must be something that has the attribute of self-existence.
Well,
I mean, it's simple logic.
I actually don't. There could be. I mean, it could be just.
Could be. There must be. It's the only rational answer we have to our existence.
Okay, could be energy itself, though. So.
Okay, well then we're just quibbling over names now.
Well, if you want to call it God has a will and stuff. And
do you have a will?
Yes.
Okay, how does impersonality give rise to personality?
Incrementally.
Again, it's not a time thing; it's a hierarchy thing. Something cannot
it happens incrementally, though, over time.
So we could be irrational slowly, and that makes it work.
I mean, we exist.
It's magic. It's magic. It's a just so story.
Following the theory of evolution, incrementally.
Evolution's good it. Evolution has no value.
Well,
there's no value in agent within. It's called an efficient cause. There's no efficient cause for the Darwinian synthesis. That's why I say it's an utterly stupid, 19th century antiquated perspective, and we're in the 21st century. Let's get our boots on, get our thinking caps on.
The majority, it is what all science is based off of. So
the majority what?
The majority of philosophers, pretty much all science, modern medicine, everything is based off of the theory of evolution.
Yeah, it's because we're jackasses. Now, I'm not talking about the evolution that has been empirically verified. Certainly, there is adaptation through genetic modifications that occur through temporal descent. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Darwinian synthesis of evolution, which posits value unvaluably. It's stupid. It's idiotic.
Value is weird because you need a subject to have value, and until you have that, you don't really have value.
That's exactly right. And there's no efficient cause with the Darwinian synthesis. It's naturalistic. It's like saying picnic tables. It's like saying picnic tables create art museums. It's stupid.
I don't understand what you're saying, though.
It's purely materialistic.
For value through evolution?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You're saying there's no efficient cause for value through evolution?
There's no efficient cause. And are you familiar? You're probably not familiar with Aristotle's fourfold causality, right? He broke causality up into 4 categories, and really it's more like 5. I think I want to say it was Simplicius that came up but in utilizing Plato. But so we'll say that, and I give this analogy a lot, but it's he gave the example of a sculptor making a sculpture, and if you want to use that as an example, you can say the sculptor wants to make a sculpture, and he has a block of granite out of which he wants to make a statue. That would be the material cause. That is the thing out of which it is made. And then you have a formal cause, which would be the instruction, whether it be in his mind or he's written down somewhere, the instructions that will form that statue that he's going to make, okay? And then he has what's called the instrumental cause. Well, let me say this. He has let me say the final cause, which is the reason for which the statue was made. It's probably like a commission from somebody, or the king commissions a statue or something like that. And then you've got what's called the efficient cause, which would be the sculptor himself. He's the one that brings about the effect of the statue. And then you have the instrumental cause, which would be as a subset of the efficient cause, which is the instruments that he uses, his hammer and chisel, that he's using to make the sculpture. So the Darwinian evolution has no efficient cause. There's no person moving toward the goal of anything. It's efficient, and actually, there's no final cause or formal cause.
Yeah, there's no real goal in evolution. It just kind of does.
That's right. That's right. And so, how do you have goals instantiating unintentionally? How does that work?
What do you mean goals instantiating unintentionally?
Did you goal to say that statement right there?
Well, I did, but that's because I'm a
okay. How does that instantiate unintentionally? Because unintentionality cannot intend intention.
Well, unintentionality didn't intend intention.
Oh, so there's an intentional.
Unintentionality just brought me forward eventually, and then I was able to ask you that.
Okay, so what is the intentionality that instantiated in you?
You said that it doesn't do it or something.
I said Darwinian evolution has no efficient cause, so there's no intention in it.
Well, yeah, we know there's no intention in evolution. It doesn't mean it can't create. We know there's no intention in evolution. It doesn't mean it can't create.
Right. So how do you explain your intentionality then?
My intentionality?
Yes.
Because I'm a creature that does have intention.
Yeah, they always say it's just magic. Believe me, trust me.
That's not magic. It's just what it is.
and you give the Pentecostals trouble.
That's not magic, though. It's like.
It's not a reason. You're not giving me a reason, my friend.
A reason for what?
A reason for intentionality instantiating unintentionally in the Darwinian synthesis.
Well, I didn't say it doesn't. But you're wondering why I have intention. Right,
because you said it was evolved, but evolution admittedly has no efficient cause.
Evolution doesn't have to have any sort of thing. Just because I'm one of the creatures that just happened to come out of it doesn't mean I can't have intention.
Why not? Did unintentionality intend your intention?
No.
Okay, what was it then?
Because that doesn't make any sense to say unintentionality intended my existence. It didn't. I'm just one of the things that came out of it.
Poof. It's
poof. It's an incremental change from.
Oh no! I'm sorry. It's poof.
Well,
makes it slower. That makes it a lot more impressive. Just add a couple of billion years, and then it sounds impressive.
So why can't I have intention just because evolution has no intention?
Because you're saying evolution is what gave rise to you.
So what? Why can't I have intention just because evolution has
because no intention? You can't do it rationally. You're being irrational.
Irrational.
I'm sorry?
Where is it not rational?
When you say that unintentionality intended intention.
I didn't say that. I said that evolution gave rise to it.
Is evolution unintentional?
Yes.
Okay. How can it intend something that it by definition it does not have?
It didn't intend.
So it accidentally purposed intention?
It didn't accidentally purpose anything.
Oh my gosh. It's just magic. That's all it is. No. You're just saying that anything can give anything as long as it works with evolution because evolution is my God. In other words, and I'm not saying you worship it as a God, but you're just saying it's so dear to me that I'm just going to say irrational things to defend it because it's so dear to me.
I'm not saying anything irrational.
Well, yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. You're saying that I can't intend something because evolution has no intentionality. But
And
that's
you're saying evolution gave rise to your intention. You have to tell me how
evolution gave
evolution.
rise to me, and I have intention.
I'm sorry, say it again.
It didn't. Evolution didn't give rise to my intentionality. It gave rise to me. I have intention.
So your
why
intention.
can't I have intention just because evolution gave rise to me?
So evolution gave rise to you, but not intentionality.
It gave rise to me.
Are you intentional?
Intentional in what way? Like that I can say, "Hey, I'm
You
going to
have
pick up
goals.
this pen."
That you're trying to exist. You're valuing.
I'm not trying to exist. I just do.
Oh, you don't eat breakfast to exist?
I thought you meant something like, I had no choice in being born.
Yeah, but you have a choice right now to not kill yourself. You have a choice right now to eat and to care for yourself and to go to the doctor when you feel sick, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a goal of existence.
Because I want to.
And how do you justify that? Because your life doesn't matter. I'm sorry?
Do I need to justify that? Why?
Because it's good to think. It's good to justify your perspective. So that's what humanity is about. It's about
what's wrong with because I want to?
I'm sorry?
So what's wrong with because I want to?
Well, that's just so statement. I need you to give me a justification, a rational.
What's wrong with it?
Why? I'm sorry.
I want to exist, therefore I got to do the stuff I need to do.
You don't want to think about it. You just don't want to think about it.
Well, I don't. I think there's. I mean, again, why do I want to exist might be a pertinent question, and I don't entirely know. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs, but I can actually again point back to evolution. It's programmed me to want to exist because.
Okay, so you can't give a reason. You're just gonna you're you know what people say about me. You use God as a placeholder. Evolution is just a placeholder to say I don't know. Would that be a fair thing to say?
I'm not even no. I'm just saying. I'm not seeing the irrationality here in.
Well, I don't know how it could be more plain. I think a child can understand it. That unintentionality does not value things.
Yeah.
By definition, that's what the word means.
Okay.
The universe is unintentional.
Yeah.
Okay, so how is it that you're valuing things when the universe is what you are?
I'm not the universe.
Oh, you're not a part of the universe?
Well, I'm in the universe.
Okay, so you are part of the universe.
Okay, I rose up out of the universe, I guess you could say, just like we all did.
Uh-huh. And so the universe is intentional, right?
No, the universe isn't intentional.
Aren't you a part
Do
of
you
the
want to say that
universe?
the universe is intentional just because we're intentional?
You're a part of the universe. I'm saying that the universe contains intentionality. You are a part of the universe.
It contains us, and we're intentional. So in that sense, I'll agree.
Okay. And how do you justify that?
Justify what?
The universe being intentional unintentionally.
Because it has us in it, and we're intentional.
And how did you instantiate intentionality unintentionally?
How did I? I didn't.
Well, I mean, that's you're saying so, at some point, unintentionality instantiated intention.
Unintentionality instantiated intention?
Uh-huh.
I'm saying processes gave rise to other processes.
That are intentional, right?
Well, if you want to call us intentional.
Well, the processes. I mean, how are you familiar with the principle of ageris sequitur esse? It's
the what?
Work follows being. In other words, action follows being. It's like you don't fly like a bird because you don't have birdness. You have humanity. And I'm not saying you can't build something you can fly, but you yourself do not have the capacity to live underwater because you don't have that. And so something cannot impart to something else what it itself does not have the capacity for. And so there's a causal relationship to everything. There's an order to the way things are caused. And something cannot, it's also called the principle of proportionate causality. Something cannot cause something in something else what it itself does not have the capacity for.
Why not?
Well, then you're saying anything can cause anything. Can you cause $1 million right now?
No, I couldn't cause
right now. Why not?
Seems like
because the principle of proportionate causality. You don't have the capacity for that right now.
But does that mean I can't put together some sort of business plan and suddenly start making millions of dollars?
No, I'm talking about right now. And produce for me.
Evolution didn't create intentionality in a second either. So,
okay, so you're saying given enough time, you can do anything.
Given enough, I don't know about anything. There's certainly.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying. There is an order to the way that causal relationships work. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying.
Okay, and I would understand, like, there are physical laws and stuff that also guide us, but.
Right, and those laws are ordered, right?
What do you mean ordered?
Well, they're just not. It's just not chaos. You can look and you can predict things, and you can say, well, things work this way. For example, they just sent SpaceX sent its first crewed capsule up to the space station. Yeah. They can look and they can make formulas causally to know this is going to happen at this point in time, and we can work it to do this, and it will be reliable. It's not chaos. It's not anything causes anything and everything goes everything everywhere. Yeah, there are certain ways that things move according to their being, and that's how all science is. If you're going to deny that, you're going to deny everything.
I'm not denying that. What I'm not seeing, though, is this connection that an intentional being such as humans can't have come through an evolutionary process. Just because the evolutionary process is not intentional doesn't mean it can't give rise to us.
To intention?
It's what?
If an evolutionary process is unintentional, but it can give rise intentionally to you.
It didn't give rise intentionally to me.
It was unintentional, right?
Yeah.
So it intended your intention.
That doesn't make any sense.
Oh my gosh.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know. What you're saying makes absolutely
sense. That's not what I'm saying.
No, you're just saying it's a just so story. I don't know how it happened, but it happened somehow, and it doesn't make any sense, but that's okay because
I didn't say it.
I need it to work.
I think it makes perfect sense, but there's intentionality. I mean, we can be intentional beings.
Unintentionally.
Well, I mean, it starts out simple. Like you have a little creature. It has a sensor. There's UV lights here. Let's move away from the UV lights because the UV lights are harmful too.
Right. It's intentional. See, this is how Darwinian evolution cheats. It starts with the system already in place. Intentionality is there. And then somehow it gives rise to everything. But you can't start with, this is a big question, abiogenesis or what do you call?
Unless we're talking about intentionality over two different things, because
you see intentionality to the very, very smallest minutia. Things are ordered. They're machines that are ordered toward existence. And they are mutating for the purpose of survival. Darwin even said that in the subtitle of his car. He said, the survival of the fittest, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. Everybody's struggling to live, and yet he said there's no purpose.
You can be hyperbolic in a title. It doesn't really change that. Like, you can be pretty hyperbolic in any title you want. It doesn't mean you're saying that there was...
I don't know how it's hyperbolic. You can't escape it. You can't escape purpose. Even as much as he tried, he contradicted himself grossly.
Yeah, I don't see that as a contradiction there.
So struggling is not purposeful?
Well, you could look at
a race that is favored is one that...
That would be from the perspective of the animals struggling to survive, basically.
Okay, is that objectively true?
Is what? That the
animals are struggling to survive.
Sure.
Yeah, and how does he justify that?
Because
it just happens, right? He starts out with that as the beginning, and then basically says it's naturalistic, and it's like, well, wait, you're cheating. You're not allowed to. We don't believe in spontaneous generation. The only reason Darwin really took off is
abiogenesis, which is a different subject.
Well, do you know that spontaneous generation was a thing in the 19th century? In the 18th century, it's kind of a cool thing, and it was shortly about the time of Darwin with Louis Pasteur and others. It was
Yeah,
debunked, but people believe
stuff
that
like,
things could just come to life out of nothing. That's the only reason he had got a grounding in the scientific world.
well, he didn't
Have
say.
we gone past that? Are we beyond the place of spontaneous generation? Can we put that aside now?
Well, who said? It seemed like you were bringing up spontaneous generation, though.
No, it was order of the day during Darwin's day.
Order of the day.
Yeah, it was considered to be viable.
Okay.
Okay, it's silly, right?
Yes.
It was just a just so magic.
It's like fully formed organism. Sure, a biogenesis is a different story, though.
Yes, but that's the great question of Darwinian evolution today. It's the conundrum of abiogenesis. How do you get life or purpose out of non-life?
Well, a biogenesis is just how life began.
Right. Which is always teleological.
It's not about how it began.
I'm sorry?
Evolution is about how it diversified, not about how it began.
That's right. It cheats. It starts with the purpose already.
That's not cheating.
Oh, really?
No.
So it starts with intentionality, but says all intentionality is unintentional.
No. It starts with life has already begun, and this is what it just does.
Right. So we have intentionality, and it instantiates unintentionally because it's naturalistic. Or would you agree with that? Darwinian evolution is naturalistic.
Are you just saying it's unintentional because, or it's because it at least is, or it's intentional because at least the creatures that are coming forth are trying to live?
Yes.
All right. So it's intentional in the sense that the creatures that come forth are trying to live.
Right. They're teleological. They're moving toward the goal of existence. How do you have telos unintentionally?
How do what?
How do you have telos or goal unintentionally? Telos means goal or end or limit, where you're going to.
How do I have, so it seems like you're just asking, well, how did it start again? It seems like you're just backing the question back to biogenesis.
I am, because you cannot say that it's naturalistic and then say, I'm going to start with...
Okay, so your question was never about evolution. It was about abiogenesis. How does it start?
Well, no, we're talking about Darwinian evolution, how irrational it is.
It's not irrational.
Well, I can't imagine you coming forth from this conversation with any other conclusion.
Well, I mean, what is most likely, the slightly, whatever gives it the slight advantage to survive, of course that's going to let it survive better. It's just
so the organism that is already seeking to survive.
Yeah, so if you want to kick the can back to biogenesis, I don't know how life began, but I don't see any reason to think it's impossible. I've read, like Dr. Sojak had some pretty nice papers about some hypotheses for it that were pretty plausible. At the very least, it's not impossible. So,
well, yeah, it is. But listen, Mike, I need to get going. I got to do some things before I go to bed tonight. I got to go to church tomorrow. So I probably need to scoot on here. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to you and appreciate your charitable interaction. And I think you're thoughtful. Sometimes I have a problem where I'm trying to talk and my opponent won't even allow me to talk because they don't feel comfortable. But you've been very kind. We've had a thoughtful exchange and gone back and forth. And
I've never done this before ever, so.
Yeah, you did a great job. Well done. Well done. And I'm grateful for your willing to come on with me like that. I think it's been helpful and enlightening. And maybe we can do it again sometime.
Okay.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later, okay?
All right. Later.
All right, we'll see you, Mike.